Well, good afternoon, New Spirit family. It's great to be here with you for this week's devotional. And as always, I'm hoping that you're having a great week. You know, there's an old adage that says that while speech is silver, silence is golden. And that's really true when we really think about how important sometimes it is more to listen and to be reserved than it is to speak. And with that perspective, this last Sunday, I brought a message on Luke chapter 10 on the story of Mary and Martha and how important it is to govern our time and to give our time to the Lord. And we know the story of Mary and Martha. We know how Jesus had come into Bethany and wanted to, and he was invited into the house of Mary and Martha. And Martha is busy making arrangements for a meal while she sees her sister Mary sitting at the feet of Jesus and listening to his teaching. And she's offended and frustrated, and she calls out to Jesus and says, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do all this work? Tell her to come up and help me." And Jesus does two things. First, he points to Martha and says, "Martha, Martha," this double reference, trying to calm her down and to make her become reflective about what she's doing, and says, "You're anxious and worried about many things." And then he affirms what Mary is doing, and he says, you know, she's chosen the better portion, and that won't be taken away from her. And so what Jesus is speaking on here is how, in reference to Martha's concern that Mary has not chosen the right priorities in her time, she's saying essentially, there's better things to do. There's a meal to be done. And Jesus is putting this into perspective, and he's saying, no, you see, we have to put the first things first. And so there's a reference here to the prioritizing of our time. And I spoke on this last Sunday, and I shared how sometimes we, especially those of us who are so busy, how we can get frustrated because, as we all know, how frustrating it is whenever we look at our calendar and we feel like we're not doing any of the things or accomplishing everything that we hope to do with our time. But Jesus here in this story, as well as God's word, affirms to us that if we give our time to him first and we apportion the important things first, that he will bless and make our time abundant. And if we do that, then we'll find ourselves less worried about how to get the things done that we're supposed to do. And so I shared Psalm 46:10 and how we're supposed to be still and know that he is God. And again, silence is often more golden than the speech. Sometimes we're so frustrated, we're wanting to get all these things done. And sometimes we simply have to be still and know that he is God. But when we look at this psalm, it's really interesting because when we read it in its context, it's even more revealing. You see, when we start in verse 6, it says, "The nations rage, the kingdoms totter. He utters his voice, the earth melts. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Come, behold the works of the Lord, how he has brought desolations on the earth. He makes wars cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the chariots with fire." And then it says, "Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth." You see, in the context of what God says here, he's saying, in the midst of wars, in the midst of calamity and frustrations and all of these things happening, I'm still God. And so in its context, it's even more revealing. God is saying that in the biggest of your storms, in the times when you feel like you're least able to be still, that's when you're most supposed to be still and to trust in him and to know that he is still God. He's still on the throne. To give him your time, to pause and put first things first, to pray, to put God at the forefront and say, "Lord, I'm going to proceed with my day, but you're going to be at the front. And whatever I do today, I know that if you do it with me, I'll be fruitful and abundant." And this is the message that I think that Jesus is giving to Martha and that Psalms is giving to us here in verse 10 in chapter 46. And I hope that this message makes you more abundant and fruitful with your time and lessens your stress. So remember, next time you find yourself overly stressed out about the things you're supposed to do, be still and know that God is there and he's on the throne. Remember, while speech may be silver, silence is golden. May this message bless you and make you abundant in your life. And until next time, God bless.